Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again here in my kitchen, just having some breakfast today, and what I have is just a bagel with 2 whole eggs and also some honey maple ham on it. So a little bit of a ham breakfast sandwich. And I also got a little shaker cup here with actually milk and whey. And I don't eat or consume or drink a lot of whey. Time to time I do, just to make sure I get enough protein in throughout the course of the day. And it's interesting only because right now I'm not really tracking macros. I loosely am. If you follow me on MyFitnessPal, you'll see I input stuff from time to time, and that's really just get a judge of where I am. And what I do is I base that also off of my weight and fluctuations that I see on pretty much a weekly basis. I say weekly just because your weight's gonna fluctuate day to day as is, and it's not gonna really give you a true assessment of where you are. So I try to look at a little bit of a broader sense, and I do use that phone app and that scale that I showed you in another video. But I know my body well enough from all the years exploring it, you're welcome, that I really can kind of just look at food and know the basic rough macros of what they're gonna be, and I know where I am each day without having to track specifically. Now, that being said, I also don't have any specific goals right now. Ideally, I'd like to get back to around 220 for when I compete next time. However, that's still a little bit ways off. It's also just starting to get colder out, so there's no real reason for me to cut any lower. And I don't really feel like getting really big and huge. So I'm gonna kind of float somewhere between 220 and 230. As of this morning, I'm right around 224 or so. And I know myself well enough and know what I eat and can process that in my mind to know where I need to be, if that makes sense at all. And the more you do this, the more you get used to it. And that's usually what I suggest when people first start dieting. I know a lot of people don't like to track macros or calorie intake, but I think it's a good idea to do that initially, number one, because it gives you an idea of the calories that food has in it, as well as it really kind of sets your expectations accordingly. Because I've talked to plenty of people who say, you know, they're trying to bulk up and they eat as much as they can, but you have them track their macros and their calorie intake, and you find out they're only really eating 2,000 or 2,500 calories, and it really kind of opens their eyes, so to say. The same thing is true when people are cutting. They say, you know what, I just eat salads, or I just eat that. I'm not really eating a lot of food as is, but then you have them track and they see that they are, in fact, eating a ton of calories. So I think it's really good just initially to get it done at least by a minimum. I think it's a good idea for a lot of people if you have specific goals to actually track and be specific with it, but still it is a good just to kind of, like I said, set your expectations. So I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have my little whey shake here, which is just Optimum Nutrition Mocha Cappuccino, I think. It's all right, some might say pretty good. And then I just have my iPad here. I'm gonna catch up on some YouTube videos and whatnot and eat this, and we'll check in with you soon. All right, so I'm gonna get ready to go to the gym in like an hour or so, and I figured since it's Halloween, I'm gonna break out some candy for the pre-workout. So these are some Warhead Sour Twists. I like to go the candy route every now and then instead of Pop-Tarts, just to indulge my inner youth. Never had these before necessarily. I usually go with the Sour Patch Kids or the Glowworms or whatever. Try to give these a shot now. Normal Warheads are usually pretty sour. I have no idea how these are. Taste test. Look at that little guy. All kinds of diabetes. These aren't sour at all. In fact, they just taste like Twizzlers with sugar on top of them. Wow. Much disappointing. All right. Those suck. I don't really feel like eating those. Those are really, really bland. So let's do this instead. You're gonna come with me. I'm gonna come over here to my magic drawer of fun. We got those Rainbow Treasures in there, right next to the granulated sugar. I don't know if there's necessarily a difference between the two. Got some Poppy Tarts, some granola, some rice, but also I picked up these the other day. I haven't had these. So the chocolate chip cookie dough. I don't think these are necessarily new, but I haven't had them before, so they're new to me, damn it. It's still real to me, damn it. Props to anyone who knows where that's from. Maybe I'll just throw the clip in right now.
It's still real to me, damn it.
But anyways, gonna give those a shot instead, so. Can't really go wrong with them Poppy Tarts. Again, really disappointed with these Warheads. These are not good. Let me get you guys straight. One more shot. This is your last chance, Sour Warhead. Make an impression on me. Ugh. No bueno. No good. All right, so Pop-Tarts and we'll catch you in the car. Oh. All right, so outside the gym, and the parking lot is really, really busy. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen it this full. But there's also more than just a gym in this little area. There's like a dance studio, and no, you'll not see me in there ever. Maybe, no, never. And there's also an orthopedic rehab center in here. However, I don't think the gym's gonna be very busy. We'll see, hopefully not. Regardless, I'm doing leg day and squats anyway, so I don't think the racks would be too full. In fact, today is going to be a speed day, and I will again let you guys in more on this program as I really figure it out. I know I've been getting a lot of questions regarding it. When are you gonna release it? Well, to be honest, I think it's gonna probably take 10, 12 weeks. I wanna run through it once or twice and really kind of nail down the things that I like, and I'll probably be revising it as I go, but maybe I'll give you like a little sneak peek in an upcoming video just to show you where I am now in case anyone's interested in trying it along with me. Now, that being said, today's a speed day, squat day. For that, because I've reset my maxes or lowered them about 100 pounds from what they actually are, and on speed days you take a very small percentage usually of your working max. I think it's around 60, 65% maybe. I'm not gonna be squatting that heavy of a weight. I'm supposed to do 6 sets of 3 for speed, and speed is something that I'm not good at least in the gym. Outside the gym, speed is definitely my forte if you pick up what I'm putting down. But within the gym and squats specifically, I have a hard time doing it because I'm so focused on making sure that I hit depth and really making sure I do everything correctly. And if I try to squat fast in the past, what I've found is that I lose a lot of tightness, I see a lot of rounding, and things kind of break down pretty easily. So I'm gonna still try to go fast, and I think I might try to do 1 continuous shot because we're using, again, lighter weights, faster speed, so maybe rest times of only 30 to 60 seconds, then maybe I'll just try to do 1 big shot for all 6 sets. We'll see once I get in there, which no more alluding to, let's get to it. I'll see you inside. All right, so let's give this a shot. All done in 1 take, so there will be some standing around. Now, 275 for 6 sets of 3, and again, speed is something that really hinders me here on the squat. I've never been a fast squatter, so to say, which is kind of unfortunate in a bit, only because I see a lot of people be able to squat fast and really use that rebound effect at the bottom. But I really have that lack of mobility towards the bottom of the hole as is, so you don't really see any of that rebound effect for me. That's why you usually see my squats are pretty slow and methodical, but it's worked fairly well for me up to this point. So the first set of 3 goes okay. The problem with me, as I already mentioned, with the speed is the fact that I can't really do all the things I'm trying to do, and I end up losing my balance a little bit on some of these sets. Now, it's hard to tell, but if you pay attention to my heels, you'll see sometimes they come off the floor just a little bit. Part of that is due to the fact that the weight's transferring more towards the front of my foot. Another part of that is the fact that I didn't really get a chance to stretch out my ankles too well, and they're kind of collapsing in a bit, but it is what it is. Now, between each one of these sets, what I tried to do is reset the timer on my phone to keep track, and I think I did a pretty good job. On average, I think there's about 35 seconds between actual repetitions, if you look at it that way, only because it takes me some time to set up. And one of the things I'm trying to do here is get really tight, so with my breathing, and also I'm trying to break at the hip first and make sure I get low enough. Some of these sets actually look pretty fast, but again, my depth suffers a little bit just because I'm focusing more on speed than getting everything done. After going through this particular workout, one of the things I've maybe been contemplating is instead of doing these for speed sets with very little rest in between, I might just change these to pause squats instead. And some might say that pause squats are the opposite of speed, which if you look at the total lift, you're very, very right. But for me, I think I might get more out of the pause squats because even though I'll be pausing in the hole, number 1, my depth will be getting better. Number 2, I'll be able to get more stable in a position to actually push and explode out of the hole, which is one of my favorite things to do. But I'll really work on my speed going out of the hole, so to say, because as you can see with some of these reps, I'm more focused on making sure that my depth is good or my knee tracking is right or whatever else, and the speed kind of suffers a little bit. So these are really difficult for me to do. However, again, maybe I'd just be better off really practicing these and doing more of these to get better at them, because then maybe they translate well over to my other squats. Another thing you might notice on these particular sets is I'm not using any kind of wrist wraps or belt itself. So I try not to use my weightlifting belt unless I squat over 400 pounds, more towards 500, or if I'm doing a lot of rep work. So I didn't use my belt, obviously, in this case, but I also didn't use my wrist wraps. And the reason behind that is I usually put my wrist wraps pretty tight and I will loosen them in between sets. Now, the fact that we're only using around 30 seconds of rest per set here, I would spend that whole time loosening my wrist wraps, then having just to retighten them right away. So I did without them. And it was interesting only because I found that after I did these 6 sets of 3, and maybe it's just because I did them back to back to back to back to back to back, I found my wrists were a little bit more sore than normal. I don't know if that was more placebo or what, but I definitely noticed a difference not using my wrist wraps. I think part of this too is I'm not giving myself a chance to really set up as much as I normally would, only because there's 30 seconds between sets and that's eating into the time if I take more time to set up. So I guess you could say I did in fact learn something this day. And that's good. And one of the things you can also see here is I'm wearing some pink socks. These were actually a gift from Matty Fusaro. When he came to stay with me, he came bearing gifts, and his gifts were a pair of these pink camouflage Under Armour socks. And it just so happens to coincide this time that I'm wearing them with Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I thought I'd go ahead and pay tribute to all the breasts out there, because you're always on my mind. Also, because the time was limited between sets, yet it wasn't really enough time to go on my phone and play around, which is what I normally do. Yes, I know, guilty as charged for playing on my phone, Instagramming, all sorts of things. I found that I just had to really kill time, and you can see me just wandering aimlessly. So it's actually not too far different than what I do on a normal basis. But in this case, showing it on camera is something different. So in case you ever wondered what I do between sets, it looks something like this, I guess. So going back to something that I mentioned earlier in the video, one of the things that I neglected to do today was really work on my ankle mobility. And usually what I've been doing is doing that towards the end of my warm-up routine. I'll go and I'll stretch out each ankle and then both ankles, a couple actual sets of each for probably about a total of anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. And this has really helped me with ankles collapsing as well as just having my knees track a little bit better. And I definitely noticed a difference today not having done that. The problem is I forgot to do it up until the point I already had my knee sleeves and my shoes on. And by then I was just like, fuck it. And that just so happened to coincide with the video. Very well done on my part. So here you see my last actual set here. So this is the 6th set of 3. Again, getting set, stepping back, and just banging these out. Let's see how they go. Big breath, a little short on that one, a little bit better speed on that one. One more for the win, and there you go. So 6 sets of 3, 275, felt pretty good. Could have gone heavier, but I really told myself I needed to go light because I just really wanted to make these move fast. For my accessory work today, what I wanted to do is some front squats. So because we did 6 sets of 3, I definitely wanted to do something with a little bit higher reps. So I then did 3 sets of 8 with 225 on my front squats. I left my squat shoes on and my knee sleeves as well. However, for these, I'm also not using a belt. So I'm really trying to work on my core strength here. That way, when I do wear my belt, people can still give me shit and say, hey, your core must be really weak. But you know what? Fuck you, buddy. I work on it. For these though, it felt really good, which is surprising because before when working with Dan and when I would go to front squats, I'd really have a lot of trouble keeping a rack here, but this felt really secure. All 3 sets of 8 felt really good, kept the weight static. From there, we moved on to 3 sets of farmer's walks. I want to say this probably ended up being around 90 feet. This turf here is somewhere around 20 yards. However, because there's stuff at the front and the back, I wouldn't say it's a full 20. So I'm saying 15 yards each way, which equates to 90 feet total. You're seeing 315 here. The first set I did was at 225. Ended up doing a 3rd set at 315. This really works your grip. So not only is it really good for your core, just because you're bracing and making sure you don't topple over or snap your shit up, but it also really helps with grip strength too. So if you're looking for ways to increase your grip strength as well as getting some good lower body accessory work, these farmer's walks can definitely be key. The last thing I recorded for the day were some hyper extensions, and for this one to use a kettlebell. That's 16 kilograms, which equals out to about 35 pounds. So I did 3 sets of 15 here. I'm going a little bit slow on the negative portion of this and then really trying to explode through my glutes. So that pad is getting a lot of loving, and I'm very lucky that there's a separation between those two there because my peener was getting all kinds of gains. Wrong kind of rubbing in the gym, if you know what I'm saying. But 3 sets of 15, these felt really good. Hadn't done these in a while. Thought about doing some glute ham raises, but I had just done that the other day. So trying to mix this up and add some variety to my training routine. I also did a superset of leg extensions, leg curls to finish it out, but did not record because who really cares about that? So as always, thanks for watching and stay big.